I would like to call tonight's City Council meeting to order. It is Tuesday, October the 13th, 2020, approximately 4 minutes after 7. This meeting is being conducted via Zoom because of the COVID virus. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Carl.
Here.
Councilmember Waldman.
Here.
Councilmember Weil. She's here.
Here.
Chairman Clark.
Here.
Mayor.
Here. Before we get into the meeting, I need to make a small change to the agenda tonight. I need a motion to remove number 6 from the agenda and to add as number 14, Resolution 2021-98.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil.
Yes.
Councilmember Carl.
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman.
Yes.
Chairman.
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Next item is item number 2, communications. And Mayor, we have an email from Ed Coslin regarding Mr. McGregor. Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please.
I would like to thank whoever made the hiring decision of Mr. McGregor. We live at 595 Dealman Road, and the old Bonham Creek goes right through the north end of our property and under the bridge. Mr. McGregor has been kind, thoughtful, friendly, and has taken care of practical problems like garbage collection and mailboxes. Also, the folks at Spencer Contracting have been kind when we have had trouble getting out of our driveway. Tim, the superintendent, has been especially kind. Thanks, Ed Coslin.
Very nice to hear.
Was it revealed that that is also a family member of Greg as well?
Yeah. Next item, please.
I think there were other communications.
Were there, Denise, other emails?
Oh, yes, I do have 3 regarding regarding the sale of 1125 Dealman. Those, Barb?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, this one is from John Law. Please do not sell the lot 1125 Dealman to Mr. Cohen. He's shown himself as being unprofessional. The previous contract I had with him, he said he put earnest money down, but in reality he did not. My understanding, he did not put any earnest money down on any of the contracts of the Dealman project. So he broke the trust. I do want to sell my property to better this community, but at this point, not with Mr. Cohen. I have no trust in him. John Law. Then I have another one, the same regarding the same property, from a Barry Kep. It's one of the homeowners involved in the proposed buyout on the 1100 block of Dealman, and specifically with regard to the proposed sale of 1125 Dealman to Doug Cohen. I'm asking the council not to approve resolution number 2020-196, enabling Mr. Cohen to purchase 1125 Dealman without the contingencies formally warranted by the city in the original sale contract proposal, i.e. that he successfully purchase all 7 of the other properties on that tract in order to make the proposed development go through. All of us homeowners have discussed the matter at length many times, and we're all in agreement to sell our respective properties. We have some concerns about Mr. Cohen and how he does business, most importantly the following. He has lowballed us on the proposed figures coming down from his original offers. He has boasted and threatened on numerous occasions that he will buy 1125 and sit on it for 10 years if he has to in order to block out other developers from making us offers. He never delivered the original sales contracts nor earnest money to Investors Title of Clayton, the title company of record per the contract. Effectively, he cheated each of us out of $1,000 earnest money. Mr. Cohen is willing to pay us what we each need in order to make a move feasible. We're more than willing to sell our properties. We're all in alignment on that, as well as on our concerns about his business ethics and practices. And I have one more regarding that. This is from Nettie Union, who is representing Thelma Ross, owner of 1121 Dealman. I'm writing this email on behalf of my sister, Thelma Ross, owner of the property at 1121 Dealman Road. She has concerns regarding the sale of the property at 1125 Dealman Road to Douglas Properties. There have been inconsistencies in negotiations between Douglas Properties and the Dealman homeowners. She feels that if the city of Olivet sells 1125 Dealman to Douglas Properties before mutual and satisfactory agreements are reached between the Douglas Properties and the Dealman homeowners, the homeowners would be put at a great disadvantage in negotiations with Douglas Properties and any other companies interested in their properties. She stands in agreement with her neighbors as it relates to their concerns and thoughts regarding the sale of 1125 Dealman. She is on board with selling her property when a fair agreement is reached. She has already invested more than $20,000 to have her property torn down. We respectfully request that this email be read during this evening's meeting.
Anything else?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Next item?
Item number 3, city manager's report.
Thank you. I have and typically I have a PowerPoint that I'll go through. I do not have that for this evening. What I do have, however, is just an update on a couple of items. The Dealman Road project is really moving along now. They're getting ready to tomorrow to put in some to really start some of the construction work on the bridge. It has been pretty busy in that area. There have been about 3 different subcontractors working, and but I think now I think that we have probably at least one of those has completed their work, and so that we do anticipate that we will it'll get a little bit easier to maneuver there and to get and we're working, and it'll be another week or so, a couple weeks, until we're able to really put the barricades into place for people to kind of more easily access the trailhead that's there. We do ask people. We do ask that people are careful. I know there still are people who are trying to, run from the Hillendale area or somewhere and get to the trail. So we do recommend people be careful with that. Other than that, most of our other projects are kind of continuing to slowly proceed. We'll talk about a couple of those this evening, and I think that's really all I have for the evening. I do want to remind people, though, that on October 17th, we have our next drive-in movie, which is The Goonies. Decorate your, come in a costume, decorate your vehicle, have fun. This is kind of our in lieu of Boo Bash experience. So that's October 17th. I believe you can purchase tickets for that now.
Are there questions for the city manager? No? Okay, we'll move on. Next item.
Item number 4, city council reports.
Thank you. I'll start with Councilmember Waldman.
Oh boy, I hope you're not hearing that dog in the background howling. She's found something out of the window and she's barking. All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, I will report on the October 1st Planning and Community Design Commission meeting. The next PCDC meeting is this coming Thursday. So under old business, 9044 Watsonia was approved. It was dealing with a site plan review for an accessory structure that is an enclosed structure. Next, there was discussion and continued discussion on the urban agriculture, formerly the quality of life issues, and putting those in the zoning code with parameters. They continue to talk about livestock, gardening, landscaping, and they will continue to discuss it with hopefully some framework, a consensus coming to the council shortly. And other than that, they also discussed a little bit about stormwater management and continue that conversation. And that is my report from the October 1st PCDC meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Weil?
I didn't attend any meetings, additional meetings this past few weeks.
Thank you. Councilmember Carl?
Yes, I attended the PCDC meeting, not PCDC, I'm sorry, Missy, the EDC meeting on October 5th, the majority of which was in closed session, so there would be nothing to report here publicly. However, I do believe the council was brought up to date on the activities of that meeting at our work session the next day.
Thank you. Chairman Pro Tem Clark?
I did not attend any meetings at this time. I have nothing to report.
Thank you. I continue to attend the weekly turkey trot meetings that we have on Friday. I continue to attend the park meetings that we have on Tuesdays. Today was a day off for the park meetings, but I'm assuming we'll continue again next week. Turkey trot, if I just may. Turkey trot, there's the t-shirt. Turkey trot t-shirts are in. They're awesome. Everybody needs to have one. Everybody needs to support Turkey Trot because
It's a good thing.
it goes to a great cause. It goes to help. It's virtual. You can run at your own pace. You can run at your own time. You can run your own course. Yep, there you go. It's upside down. There we go. It's a great t-shirt. There we go. Great t-shirt this year, full color. And it's really for a great cause. The Harvey Kornblum Food Pantry feeds 6,500 people a month. And these people really need our help. And it is an excellent cause. So all the proceeds go to the Harvey Kornblum Food Pantry. We've been doing this now. This is our 7th year. And while we can't all celebrate and do this together this year because of COVID, we still all can do it. So I encourage everyone out there to please sign up and go to Turkey Trot and do Turkey Trot. Anybody have any questions of anybody? All right. Next item, please.
Item number 5, hearing from citizens.
Okay, so the question was always, it was asked in the beginning about how residents would speak. This is an opportunity for residents to speak to the council. I'm going to ask that you direct your questions and I'm going to ask that you direct your comments to me as the chair, that this is not an opportunity for you to poll a council, that when you raise your hand, that you and Barb unmutes you, city manager unmutes you, that you kindly state your name and your address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address the council. We will not be taking comments at any other time as we move through the rest of the agenda until we get to item number 15, which will be after we've heard and done all of the other items on the agenda. So if there's something that you wish to speak to us about, now is that time. And with that, I'm going to let Barb choose who to unmute. Please
Mayor?
read. Yes.
Barry has his hand raised, and so I'm gonna unmute Barry.
Okay.
Barry, I think if you unmute yourself, we should be able to hear you.
Okay,
There you
good.
go.
Can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you, Barb, and thank you, council members and mayor. I'm speaking for the residents, the homeowners on the 1100 block of Dealman Road regarding the emails that 3 of us sent you tonight. And I request that the email from the Corleys be read as well as the other emails were, please.
May I ask, sir, may I ask a favor of you, please? Would you state your name and address for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. Barry Kep, 1137 Dealman.
Okay.
Thank you. So we're all aligned on selling our homes on a good buyout. We have been from day one, ever since 2 years ago when we were approached by Payne Family Homes, represented by Pace Construction. We have concerns about Mr. Cohen's ethics and business practices. He has arrogantly boasted that he'll buy 1125 Dealman and sit on it for 10 years if he has to keep out other buyers. He has said this numerous times. He never delivered the original sale contract or any earnest money to Investors Title in Clayton, the title company of record, as I stated in my email. So he cheated all of us out of $1,000 earnest money and didn't follow his contractual agreements. that's just one of several areas where he's not behaved professionally. He swore to me up and down that I didn't need an earnest money receipt nor a mutual release from the original contract because I didn't have a valid contract. Well, that was not true. The original contract was good up through November of this year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And then finally, when I got some mentoring and assistance from a friend of mine who's a realtor and submitted the proper release form, finally, Mr. Cohen relented and reluctantly submitted the release form that he swore up and down months previously I did not need. He lowballed all of us from his original offers, leaving a block full of dissatisfied, disgruntled homeowners. If he pays us what we each need, we're all agreed and we will sell. But selling him 1125 Dealman with all contingencies removed will enable him to lock up that tract of land and prevent us from seeking or being approached by other developers. We're requesting that the council not pass this resolution and not allow him to carry out his plan, which he has arrogantly boasted is what's on his mind to begin with. And he's said it more than once, both verbally and in writing. Thank you.
One second.
Was I audible?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Judy there wants to speak, and Judy, I'm going to allow you to unmute you, and then you'll just need to unmute yourself, and you should be able to speak now.
Okay. Oops. Hold on. Turn that off. Sorry. Had
That's
two
okay.
computers on at the same time.
We've-
This is actually Christy Corley, 1131 Dealman,
Oh,
and
okay.
Ken Corley, 1131 Dealman.
Oh, and Chrissy, can I just say real
Oops.
quick?
Hold on.
The council received an email from the Corleys.
I can't find the volume.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. The
You have to
council.
get onto a different one. We can't hear you.
Okay. I was just going to say the council.
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me? We can hear you, but I don't know if you can hear me.
Please go on to someone else.
Sure. Hold on one second. Let me just, let me go here and mute. Or hand disable talking. All right. Just so the council, before I go on, there's a few more people with their hands up. But before I go on, the Corleys sent the council an email earlier today. You should have all five received it. And the reason I was asked why that one wasn't read, the three emails that were read during communications came through from the communications manager as communications for the meeting. Typically, if an email is sent to the five council members and there's not a request for it to be read, we don't read those. That's just regular communication from a citizen to the council. So I just want to explain why that wasn't read, just so the council understands as well. But it's always at the council's discretion what you would like to do. Now this one says Christy Corley, so let's we'll see. Oops, cancel. Is using Christy I'm going to have to promote Christy to a panelist because she's using because whoever is on this is using an older version of Zoom, and it doesn't allow me to just allow them to talk. So what's going to happen is they'll be promoted to a panelist, and so you'll see them both. You might see video and hear audio, just to let you know. And then I will need to take them off as a panelist and move them back to an attendee.
Okay.
All right, that has been done.
All right, can you hear me now?
Now we're all good. Can you hear me? Awesome.
Sorry about
No problem. We get it.
trying to use 2 different computers didn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are Ken and Chrissy Quarterly at 1131 Dealman. And yes, you did receive my email this afternoon. We are in agreement with all the others that you read. We just would like for you to put it on hold for the time being. We don't feel that everything has been done correctly, properly, ethically, anything like that. We would love to speak to the city manager, whoever is in charge of selling that property, so we could all be on the same page and do something for the community that's nice and it works for everybody. So we would just love for you to put that particular resolution on hold and not vote on it tonight and sell that property to him.
And pretty much agree with everything. We also have Terry Meyer with us. That's why we were trying to do 2 computers. He would like to speak as well. And he lives at the other end of Dealman Air. So we're gonna slide a computer over his way and allow him to speak if that's okay.
Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, my name is Terry Meyer. I'm a resident at 1161 Dealman Road. I'm in agreement with all the other emails and whatever else has been said this evening regarding the purchase of 1100 block of Dealman. I would ask, as everyone else has, just to table this to another time and let a little more discussion be made. Mr. Cohen has not been honest and ethical with us. He has not told us the truth going through this. So we would ask that it not be put to vote at this time, and that it would be put to vote at a later time or discussed at a later time. And I'm in total agreement with all the other emails and whatever everybody else has said this evening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, I'm going to move you back to a regular attendee. And the only reason I'm saying it like that is because it doesn't always work.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I can't.
Worst case, we'll come back in.
Right, yeah, okay. Okay. Ooh, worked. All right, we have, the name is Nettie's Union, and I'm going to unmute that person. And whomever this is, if you want to just unmute yourself.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chairman, council members, and neighbors. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Yes. Okay, my name is Nettie Union, and I am representing my sister, Thelma Ross, who is the owner of 1121 Dealman. And I just wanted to concur with her neighbors. She is in total agreement with the other neighbors who have spoken regarding the sale of 1125 Dealman Road. I don't really have anything else to add because I think they all gave the information that was needed to be given. So I just want to say that she is in total agreement with them, and she too would also like for the sale to just kind of be put on hold until we have time to discuss with other Olivet people regarding the sale. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, there's John Law.
Can you hear me?
Yes, John.
Oh, hi. I'm John Law. My address is 236 South Nogales, but I have a rental at 1141 Dealman. And I understand you want that developed. I know it's going to increase your,
Oops, hold on, sorry.
can you still hear me?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I
That was
wonder,
my fault. I'm sorry.
Okay, I understand, yeah, that's going to increase your taxes and the development's going to be wonderful for the neighborhood and I'm all for it. But I don't know if this developer is going to be the one you want to use because it's very unprofessional so far. And yeah, I'm really hesitant to work with him anymore. Almost, it's just it gets frustrated over the whole thing. But I'm, like I said, I'm all for a sale and I'm all for this development. So I hope you vote no on the sale to that lot to this gentleman. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Mr. Law,
Yes.
this is Chairman Clark. Can you tell me what exactly Mr. Cohen has done that you think is so unprofessional? I just want to know for my own good.
Well, for instance, no earnest money was put down on the contracts to the title company. And that was an agreement on the contract to do. So that contract was null and void. He never did it. Never put a penny down on mine, or it seems like anybody else's properties. And then the idea of kind of blackmailing, buying this property and blackmailing everybody about stating that he's going to just sit on it for 5 or 10 years to prevent any other developer to come in and just control the area. So it's you know, I am totally against Mr. Cohen and his practices. So you know, I've got a number of properties in Olivet too, but I hope you can maybe find another developer for it or something, because I'm all for the sale and all for the development, but I don't think he's your man. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Law,
Yes.
are all of you having conversations with other developers? It's my understanding that's what's going on.
Not recently, but we've done in the past.
I see. So
Since
so
the COVID hit,
you have had
you know, it's
conversations.
slowed things down. Pardon?
You have had conversations with other developers. You've sought them out?
No, I've never sought anybody out at this
Or
point.
not you, but others have sought out the developers?
Other developers, yes.
Okay, so others have sought out other developers. Okay, I just
I
want
mean,
to.
yeah, I think there's some other developers that might be interested in the street.
Uh-huh, okay,
Ruth,
I haven't really pressed the point, but I can.
okay.
But
Ruth, I think there is still a misunderstanding. I just want to see if I'm right or wrong. I'm sorry to interrupt your conversation.
Sure.
The residents have not ever sought a developer.
No, that's what I asked. The
Well,
resident,
I'm asking him to confirm that because I'm not sure he said what you thought he said. That's what I'm asking.
okay, my question was, have the residents sought out another developer?
not presently.
Okay,
Yeah.
They've done it before.
have the residents ever sought out another developer?
I think there was another developer before Payne. I
But
mean,
residents did not
correct,
Payne out. Payne came on their own volition, I believe.
correct. Yeah. Correct.
Okay, I am going to remind the council that we are in the public comment and may want to be careful about some of the ongoing negotiations.
Yep.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Do we have anyone else that wants to speak? Thank you.
We have, Barry has his hand up again.
Has Barry spoken already?
Yes.
Is there anyone besides Barry that wants to speak? Because I want to be fair to everyone first, and typically I don't let you speak again. It's kind of like one time around, otherwise we're just going to continue to round robin. It's not a conversation. It's a It's a 3-minute hearing from citizens.
There's
Just to be fair,
there's a second round at the end of the meeting.
and then there is another round at the end, but to be fair, is there anyone else besides Barry? No? Okay. Barry, I'm going to break my protocol. I'm going to let you speak again, but but I want to be clear that Barry is the spokesperson then, and then we're going to finish. This is going to be the last comment that we're going to take. We're just not going to start all over again. Okay, if everyone's cool with that, then I will let him speak again.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, thank you. Couple of things. Councilman Clark or Chairman Clark, you asked what things has Mr. Cohen done that smack of unprofessionalism. It's a number of things. He never delivered any of the 7 contracts nor earnest monies to the title company. And quite frankly, Barb, I was going to call you and give you a heads up about that. That's been on my to-do list for the past several months, to caution you about his practices, because since you guys are in the negotiations on 1125, I wondered if he might have done the same thing with you. So I was going to give you a heads up about that. His arrogance and boast, he not only boasted about his 10-year plan to lock up and tie up the property for 10 years if he had to, he told us that he already owned 1125. He walked around saying, well, since I already own 1125 Dealman, and we were like, no, you don't. He also boasted that since I own the center piece of the property, excuse me, last time I looked, 1125 is 3rd from the end, up from Jiffy Lube. Mr. Corley, the Corleys and I own the 2 center properties. So this guy has been grandstanding us. He's been blowing smoke, manipulative. He's been lowballing us. He's made mistakes on the contracts. He swapped, I know it's just a Scrivener's error, but it's a pretty dumb one. He swapped the terms St. Louis and Olivet, where it says city, municipality and county. He doesn't cross his T's and dot his I's. So, we're all in favor of selling our properties as long as we're given a fair price. And he has lowballed us. He texted me. He said, well, I've run into problems with MSD. Their figures are astronomical. Everybody is going to have to come way down, in all caps. He said, way down in their prices. I said, well, then the deal's probably dead. That's not the kind of thing any of us wants to hear, that we're going to have to come way down. You need to go back to your lender and your investors and say, hey, I need more money. I mean, that's the way this kind of thing works. He's trying to squeeze us so that he can get his deal done within his budget. That's just not right. That's why we're all concerned. Thank you, Mayor, for your extra time.
You're welcome. Is there anyone else that has not addressed the council that wishes to do so? Are there any other hands up?
I don't see any, Mayor.
Okay, then we are going to move on.
Thank you.
Next item.
Next item is Bill number 2937, an ordinance ratifying and affirming ordinance number 2703's approval of a petition for the creation of a community improvement district and establishment of the Olivet Gateway Community Improvement District as a political subdivision of the state of Missouri.
Okay, thank you. This is the second reading on this bill. So, and again, just to remind the council, you're essentially ratifying an ordinance, a previous ordinance. It had to do with an issue with the newspaper printed the notice, the public hearing notice a day late. Really not something that would necessarily have caused any issues. However, the developer really is trying to dot all the I's, cross all the T's. And so that's the reason then for this ratification and affirming ordinance before you.
Are there any questions for the city manager? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I motion to approve Bill number 2937, an ordinance ratifying and affirming ordinance number 2703's approval of a petition for the creation of a community improvement district and establishment of the Olivet Gateway Community Improvement District as a political subdivision of the state of Missouri.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. Are there any final comments or questions? Hearing none, please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Councilmember Weil? Did she drop out?
I'm having computer issues. Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by action of the Olivet City Council. Bill number 2937 becomes ordinance number 2710.
Next item.
Bill number 2938, an ordinance of the City of Olivet, Missouri, authorizing the city to enter into a preliminary funding agreement with Easy Storage Olivet LLC. First and second reading.
May I ask a question of Mr. Martin before we start this one? And maybe it's really just technology, but when I pop this up, electronically it says the City of Normandy, Missouri.
Right now? Right
Yeah.
now? Lindsay?
Yeah, when I look up at the top of my tag after I open it. But I see nothing in the document that reflects it's Normandy. It is Olivet. So, you know.
Those are Barb's tabs you're looking at. You're looking at this in Barb's computer. Those are Barb's tabs that you're looking at.
Okay, I'm hitting the blue link, so I don't understand your logo, but okay.
Well, I can tell you, I can explain why it says that. And that's simply because this was prepared initially by Gilmore and Bell, and they do this all over the place. And this was probably a template that they used to prepare the Olivet ordinance, which I went ahead and after that tailored it a little bit more specifically to this particular situation. So that's the only explanation I have.
I need to get a motion to read this for the first and for the second time, to set aside our ordinary rules, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion that we set aside our ordinary rules and read ordinance or Bill 2938.
Second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded. I need to close the city council meeting and open up a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on the issue of whether the council should read this bill for the second time tonight and should set aside their ordinary rules to do that?
I see no one, Mayor.
Okay. We're going to go back into regular session. I will, if there are no comments or questions, please poll the council on voting or on setting aside our ordinary rules.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Councilmember Weil, is she with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you not see me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
All right. Now, Denise, would you read bill number 2938?
Yes. Bill number 2938, an ordinance of the City of Olivet, Missouri, authorizing the city to enter into a preliminary funding agreement with Easy Storage Olivet LLC.
Thank you. All right, who's gonna do this for us?
I can take this, and Paul, if you have anything to add, feel free. As the council is aware, Easy Storage has been working with the property on Olive at 9538 Olive Boulevard for quite some time. They've done some of the infrastructure work. They have had a couple of issues come up with regard to cost and also with some taxing issues, assessments, I should say, that have changed their pro forma. What they are asking is, or what this preliminary funding agreement would do is it would allow them, they would pay into the city an amount specified, which I believe here is $7,500. And we would then hire Development Strategies to do a preliminary or to do a cost benefit assessment. This would allow the city to gather information and to determine whether or not there is a need. It would also give the city an opportunity and some time to discuss the merits of the project and what it brings to the city. And then we would come back with that report, probably to the Economic Development Commission first, and would ask them to make a recommendation, and we would come back to they would then have a report back to the council. This in no way ties the hands of the council into entering into a partnership with Easy Storage. But it does give us a little bit more information upon which to make a more informed decision. And I believe that the owners of Easy Storage, like the city council, are really looking for a little bit more information and for us to kind of amicably come to a final decision of what we want to see here at 9538 Olive. And I don't know, Paul, if you have anything to add to that.
I was just going to add that the reason for the second reading is just to get this ball rolling as quickly as possible. The project's been obviously pending for a while, and everybody wants to bring it to a conclusion, whichever way it goes. So that's why we're asking for the second reading tonight.
Okay. Does the council have any questions? Oh, either Mr. Martin or Ms. Sondag?
I do. It's not really a question, Mayor. It really is more of a comment of what we're doing, where we're going. You know, I totally support this. Let's let them do the feasibility study. But I mentioned this last time, and I'm going to bring this up again. And Councilmember Carl, maybe it's different materials. I don't know what materials this company intends to use in an intent to build in our community. But the cost of wood is doubled. And I don't know how that monetary figure could end up impacting what they're going to ask for, or whatever the significant differences are, because they're coming back to us already saying, we've got an impact. We want to talk to you about this. We're doing a feasibility study. And I'm now saying the cost of wood's doubled. So will numbers be accurate? It's food for thought. Wood has doubled in cost.
The feasibility and study includes the estimates for construction. So, as any project, you're making an estimate of, using today's prices or in a thinking, well, what will it cost when we're ready to build? Realistically, they are, they as people who do this and develop these projects and build these projects have seen ups and downs in the market. And so, we'll just see where the numbers come.
Anybody else? No? Okay, I think we're all anxious to see what the feasibility study produces for us and to have this process move along, because it has lingered for a while. So and nobody wants to have a project linger. So if there are no further comments or questions, I will entertain a motion.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve Bill 2938, an ordinance of the City of Olivet, Missouri, authorizing the city to enter into a preliminary funding agreement with Easy Storage Olivet LLC.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any final comments or questions? Hearing none, please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passed by action of the Olivet City Council. Bill number 2938 becomes ordinance number 2711.
Thank you. Next item.
Bill number 2939, an ordinance of the City of Olivet, Missouri, amending the City of Olivet Employee Handbook by adding section 6.17, telecommuting.
Thank you. This is just a first reading. This is an addition to the personnel policies in which we establish the policy and then some of the procedures for telecommuting. And as we have talked in a work session, there aren't a lot of employees in the city of Olivet that can actually successfully do telecommuting. Your police and fire, they have to show up each day. But for some folks, this is necessary, and I think it could be really an added attraction as we go out and look for and seek new employees. I think the pandemic and when we were closed down for a period of time taught us how we can do this. And now what this policy will do is I think it will give us some guidelines for as we move we move back into the building, and also enable some folks to create a good life-work balance. So again, this is just the first reading tonight.
Thank you. Next item.
Next item is fiscal year 21 curbside leaf collection contract extension.
Okay. Oops, I need to share my screen, sorry. I'm standing in for Bruce McGregor this evening as we're requesting a one-year agreement on our contract with Hendel for leaf collection. Basically, the contract has expired. We are looking to extend it for 1 year, and then that gives us the time to kind of go out for bids. One of the things, last time we did bids, I think Hendel was the only company that submitted. It's been at this point we were a little late in starting the process. So I think this is we've had really no problems with Hendel. They've done a good job for us, and the rate that they're pricing is still, I think, a reasonable rate. And so we will be going out seeking bids for the next year and seeing what we get.
Is this a first reading?
No, this is actually just a motion to authorize me to enter into an agreement.
All right, I will entertain that motion then.
Madam Mayor, I'm a motion to authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with Hendel Lawn Care to complete fiscal year 21 curbside leaf collection services.
I'll second that.
Madam Mayor, before we vote, I'd like to follow up with a question and a recollection.
Sure.
The city manager so even made a comment. I believe when we attempted to do this last time, we really learned that this is the only company that really does this in this area. And so I've been familiar with this for quite a while. And this gentleman and his company has always been professional. They have come back. I've seen them work very hard even after all the leaves were out there and it got wet. And they're still showing up and they're sucking that stuff up and they're sucking out their hose because it gets stuck with the wet leaves. I think this is a very reputable firm, and I'm hopeful that they will continue to do a great business. Thanks.
Anybody else? All right, hearing none, no other comments or questions, please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
Councilmember, oh, there you are, okay.
Sorry, I had some issues on the computer, but I did not lose.
Fine, you're
I
back.
did not lose my ability to hear, so I heard everything. So.
Okay. Next item.
Resolution 2020-195, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a lease agreement with the city of St. Louis for the property known as Stacy Park.
Every 5 years, where the council's asked to renew this agreement. This is actually, this agreement this year, Paul worked with the attorneys with the city. And so it's not just a re-up on it. And so I appreciate the work that Paul Martin, the city attorney, did on this for us this evening. With that, not a lot has changed. However, we're able to clarify a couple of issues. And one of the questions we've always had, or some staff have had, is the fence that that you see from the road that goes around the reservoir. It's kind of an ugly fence, and it's got some barbed wire at the top, and it's not a very welcome to our park kind of fence. And Paul was able to secure that the lease would allow, actually, for us, if we wanted to take that down, we could take it down. That's not actually their security fence. They have 2 more fences. So I think that whether we do that or not, you'll find out. But I think that was positive for us to learn. And the city again continues to be very willing to work with us as we look at various improvements, just as they've been willing to work with us since 1964.
Very good. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
Madam Mayor, I really have a comment on something I'm seeing more common in our ordinances, and that's typo errors. This is the second ordinance where I see us typing Missouri. Is MISSOUIR. We have another ordinance like this tonight as well. So if we could just kind of get a little bit better with some things, I'll point another one out in another ordinance soon. But if we can get better with our stuff, I know I'm a little bit my mother here. Thank you.
All righty. So I will entertain a motion with, do we need to make that part of the motion, Paul, that typo needs to be corrected, or is it just a Scrivener error?
That is a Scrivener's error, and in that same clause, the word ordained is used where it should be resolved. So we will get those changed, and before you put your John Hancock on it.
All righty, thank you.
And I will make sure that the Scrivener is a little bit more careful in the future.
Okay.
I
I'm sorry, we lost Maxine.
motion. Barb needs to move it a little bit up. I would like to make a motion that the City Council of Olivet authorizes. I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-195, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a lease agreement with the City of St. Louis for the property known as Stacy Park.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any final comments or questions? All righty, hearing none, please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you. Next item.
Resolution 2020-196, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a supplemental real estate sales agreement with Douglas Properties for the property located at 1125 Dealman.
I'm gonna kind of tee this up for us. This is the city of Olivet currently has a purchase and sale agreement with Douglas Properties, and that was extended once, and it goes through the end of the calendar year. It could be extended again. And that sales agreement is dependent upon the acquisition, the assemblage of other parcels and the development of residential properties on those other property along that Dealman corridor across from the City Hall. What you have tonight is a supplemental real estate sales agreement that we would sell the property now to Douglas Properties. It still has contingencies in there on the acquisition and assemblage of other parcels, as well as a new development, residential development there. If that does not occur, that development does not occur, then we would buy the property back less a kind of a nuisance price of, I think, was it $2,000? And
Yes.
so that's the idea with that. One of the things and I think the city's been relatively clear about, we'd be interested in seeing that redeveloped. I think one of the reasons the city purchased the property was the idea of we'll have a stake in seeing what happens in this area. And that, and the fact it was really a removal of blight, the property on the house that was there. And so I think that, to be perfectly honest, the city is interested in seeing a redevelopment in that area. However, just a reminder, we've not gone out and sought a partnership with a developer. We've not done an RFP. We've simply have our property on sale. And if that person is able to assemble and build, then we've sold our property. That is, so we in this instance, we are a property owner. We are a property owner, and in our sales agreement, we've said, but we want to see these other things happen, or we want our property back. It's different from what we've done at Olive Crossing, in which we entered into a different agreement with that developer. This is not an economic development. We're not using any economic development tools in this case. So we don't really have any kind of other agreement. The one thing that I would caution the council about, and I caution this given the fact that we've had a number of residents speak, and I think the council needs to always, you listen to your residents and you hear what they have to say, but I would caution us to not get too involved in ongoing negotiations between other property owners and other people, because we really, in this case, and I'll let Paul kind of join in on this, I don't think we have a necessary, we want to see it redeveloped. However, we have to be cautious about letting we've negotiated with the property owner, and I think we don't want to get too involved with the other negotiations. And I say that just because I think we need to be cautious about adversely impacting a sale. And so we need to be careful of that. And Paul, I don't know if you have any other words before the council actually discusses this resolution.
My only addition, I mean, I agree with Barb. We really shouldn't be getting in the middle of negotiations between the developer and the other property owners, even if there are allegations of unethical behavior. You know, the council can't be in the middle of that, and that's just, it puts us on a path of really trying to arbitrate every neighboring property dispute in town, and that's something I always advise against. However, the concerns that were raised by the neighbors do point out what I think is a flaw in the resolution. And I believe it would be appropriate to put a time limit of some sort on the time that the developer would have to acquire the property. There isn't anything in there at this point. It makes sense to me to add something to it, and the language that I have drafted as we sat here this evening is it's a little bit complicated, but I think we can get through it if you would like to hear what that is. And I'm assuming you would, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you what it is. If you look at paragraph 3, condition subsequent, buyer agrees, represents, and warrants that should buyer be unable to acquire the neighboring properties, comma, secure the approval of the city as contemplated, and redevelop the property, buyer shall transfer the property back to the city. But there isn't any time limit there. So what I would suggest is adding in the first part of that clause, buyer agrees, represents, and warrants that should buyer be unable to acquire the neighboring properties, and here add within a reasonable time not to exceed X months, however long the council thinks it might be appropriate here, from the date hereof, comma, and thereafter timely secure the approval of the city, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So having suggested that as a possible amendment, I don't know which direction the council wants to go in. I'd be happy to repeat it if that is something that you want to consider.
Paul Martin, you read my mind. Exactly in the right spot, in the right place. All I heard was 10 years, and would we really wait 10 years? So thank you, sir. You've eliminated my question.
I have a question.
Paul, what? Oh, I'm sorry. Ruth?
Hold on. Can I just make sure that we don't get out of joint here? I'm gonna let Sydney speak first, Maxine. Go ahead, Sydney.
Have we, talked with any other developers other than Mr. Cohen on this project? Or is it simply our project that, our property, and we're selling it to this developer? Have we talked to any other developers about this? Or is he the only developer that we've talked to about this?
I can tell you that I recall Pace being interested at some point, I believe, but that I do not recall any of the details. That was a few years ago.
There was another developer that was interested, but they required, they wanted some type of us to use some economic development tool. The council at that time was not interested in using any economic development tools on residential properties, and continued to hold the property, and then was approached by Mr. Cohen, who's done some development. And and that has just been, the council is really just been, it has been just waiting on the property. We've not gone out for an RFP. I would not recommend we do at this point. So that would be,
Maxine?
Well, that leads me to another question. Barb, we can't go for an RFP if we don't own the other property, can we?
Yeah, we come.
Okay.
We could. I mean, the reason I wouldn't is because I don't think the council's interested in using any economic development to
exactly.
from residential.
And what kind of time limit are you thinking, Paul? How many months were you thinking? Or
Completely arbitrary, 6 months, 12 months.
okay,
Can I
but
insert-
more on the shorter end than the longer end.
can I insert a comment though, council?
Yes.
In general, if you look at our developments, if you look at all the developments that we have going on right now, they don't happen in 6 months. They don't happen in 12 months. They happen in longer periods of time than that. The city plays the long game because we know, and we should know, that developments take time. So 6 months or 12 months is not enough time. It's not enough time for anybody to have meaningful negotiations with multiple other parties. And it is not enough time to put it all together. Personally, I'm good with 24 months.
Bingo.
Right, because this is an assemblage of property and projects take time. And if you put yourself in a box in a really short window, you're going to find yourself having to make other decisions that you may not like to have to make. And so I'm at minimum 24 months. That's my personal preference.
Chairman Pro Tem, you might say it again. I totally agree with the timeline that the mayor has. You can't do this in 6 months. I don't agree 10 years. I think that's silly talk by Mr. Cohen. I don't think this council would ever put up with 10 years, but I totally agree. It does take time, and I am supportive of a 24-month time frame for Mr. Cohen.
So I have a question for Mr. Martin.
Go ahead.
Okay, so certainly if Cohen Properties does not come to an agreement with the homeowners, the property will revert back to the city, if I understand that correctly. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Secondly, what happens if the homeowners come to the conclusion that they will, I don't know, maybe we should talk about this in closed session. It's really kind of, is this not somewhat?
It is definitely something you can talk about in closed session if you'd like to do that.
Yes, because I think we're talking about negotiating our contract with Cohen Properties on some of these questions and making changes to that. Would that not be attorney-client privilege and contract negotiation?
Yes.
Okay.
I think though that in all
Does
fairness,
that mean that you can't vote, we can't vote on it and we'd have to wait till the next meeting? Because you'd
I
have to
think-
talk with Mr. Cohen first?
but I think if we put the date in there, here, let's go back to the premise that Barb laid out for us. This is our contract with Douglas Properties. It is not anybody else's contract with Douglas Properties. And in order to remain neutral and not be involved in any other negotiations so that we don't have influence in any way, shape, or form, we need to negotiate our contract, and with the exception of the addition of the timeline, I don't think anybody else wants to put anything else into this contract unless I'm misunderstanding what Councilmember Carl wants to do. We need to stay focused on our contract and our contract alone. And if it's simply the addition of the time frame, and if we can agree on the time frame, then we can move forward. We don't need a closed session to do that. We can simply insert that, amend the contract, and vote on the amended contract.
Okay, so my question is specifically about the time frame, and if there is other factors that feed into the time frame other than the strict 24 months. And that to me is our contract. And that's what I want to ask about. And that's,
I think it would be better off in closed session when we talk about the timelines.
All right, so let me ask this. Can we vote, can we go into closed session after the meeting and then come out and vote?
I'm fine.
I'm fine with that.
Yes, you can.
I'm fine with that.
So we are going to place this then in a closed session situation, just so those who are listening, what that means is that the council will meet in a closed session. It's not open to the public to discuss real estate matters. We are allowed to do that. I should let the attorney explain this so that they understand why we're going to closed session.
Well, that's exactly right. For attorney-client communications and for discussion of the sale of city real estate. And it's perfectly permissible under the law. After that discussion takes place, you can come back into regular session. And if the council is satisfied, they can then proceed to consider the resolution with or
So
without an amendment.
would the public then be able to come back into our meeting at that point in time, Paul? They'd have to know we're back.
Yeah, that's a technical issue. I do not know how we would let them know that we were back. Maybe we limit the closed session to X amount of time and then let the public back in at that particular time.
Barb, does the public wait until you admit them?
For the webinars, I allow people to come in early.
Okay.
When you go in executive session though, do you disconnect the link for the audience? And do they have to reconnect to the link or what? If they come back out after we've discussed this to vote?
They would get off, they would be either, they would leave the webinar as it is. The council would continue discussing and then they could come back onto the webinar.
Or Barb, we could go into a breakout room if you know.
We
how to-
can't do breakout rooms and webinars.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
So for my own confusion of clarity, because I'm not a techie, I think I'm hearing the city manager say to me as a citizen, you're gonna get booted off because we're going to an executive session, but re-click the link to come back on if we set a time that we're coming back on?
Right.
Okay, thanks.
That means that we have to stick to our time frame then, council. So before we depart this particular agenda item and move through the rest of the agenda, because we're not going to close session until for a few more minutes at least. How many minutes do you believe, Mr. Carl, that we're going to need for your issue?
As always, that lends itself to how much other discussion it involves, but I think I can talk about my question within about 10, 15 minutes easily. I mean, with a little discussion from everyone. So if it gets into a longer.
Okay, council, we're going to say we're going to be in executive session for 20 minutes. So from the time that we leave and we ask everyone to remove themselves from our meeting till the time we come back, it will be 20 minutes. And that's when we would allow the public, if they so choose, to come back. And if we are ready, if we choose to vote, and there's a lot of ifs involved there. So we're not saying we're coming back to vote. We may choose not to vote. We may choose to vote. That's what closed session is going to further our discussion. So, we are going to leave. I've never done this before, so we're going to just leave this item till we get to closed session, and then we will come back to it. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next item, please.
Resolution 2020-197, a resolution authorizing the execution of a temporary slope and construction license agreement with St. Louis County for road improvements along Dealman Road.
This is a pretty easy one. It's as you know, the county's doing road improvements, resurfacing of Dealman Road from Olive to Page. And they need a temporary construction easement or slope easement at the area that's specified. It was, one of the reasons I didn't put it in kind of the address of where that is, it has to do with the fact that that parcel is a very long, narrow parcel and it goes all the way. So it'd be more confusing to have the address there. But it is right there at Napoleon. On that area. It's a small area, and I did leave the map in there so you folks could see. But again, and you'll note that you could, I'm sorry?
This is not the, this is resolution 20.
Oh, I'm in the wrong one. Okay, thanks. Oh, I'm sharing the wrong, wait, hold on. I need to share the right screen. I apologize.
Okay, I kept reading it.
I
going,
was wondering too. I'm flipping. Thanks
I
for that.
apologize. Okay, so this is the, you will note in the letter that you could ask, the city could ask for a payment or compensation for that temporary. Typically, we would count a government entity to a government entity. We would donate that 22 feet of temporary construction easement. And we actually will need some assistance from the county as we do the Centennial Trail. So with that, I would ask the council to authorize this, this resolution.
What piece of land are they wanting to, where they want to put their equipment? Where? Describe to me where they want their temporary stuff.
It's probably easier for me to get to the map.
Okay.
Sorry, it just has to load.
Because you said Napoleon.
Huh?
Because you mentioned the street Napoleon.
Yeah. So.
But the map I'm looking at is something related to some
Here's
house on.
Napoleon. See? Here's Napoleon. This is Dealman. And the little green area that's the temporary construction easement.
It's on the home of 9615 Huron Drive, and they've agreed.
It's city-owned property. This is the south side of Napoleon.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion. Anybody?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we enter into a resolution authorizing the execution of a temporary slope and construction license agreement with St. Louis County for road improvements along Dealman Road. With that caveat, Page is spelled wrong and Missouri is wrong. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any final comments or questions? Hearing none, please poll the council. Councilmember Weil has left the room temporarily, by the way.
Thank you. Councilmember Carl?
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman?
Yes.
Chairman Clark?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes,
Motion passed.
thank you. Okay, so now we are at item number 14, which is resolution 2021-98.
I apologize for that.
That's okay. Sorry, I took your job.
Yeah. This is a resolution that Paul put together for us today. I received the funding agreement from the county for the CARES funding. As you may recall, it's a little over, it's about it's $532,081. Paul reviewed the contract. He found one item that he maybe had a little bit of issue with, but that actually doesn't has to do with kind of the prepayment of consultants or for work, and that's not anything that something like that, but we're not, it doesn't have to do with any of the reimbursements that we're requesting. And so with that, then Paul also made the recommendation that this funding agreement actually be approved at the council. You approved you approved an earlier resolution requesting the equal or equitable distribution of funds. You then did an ordinance for the county as they requested. But that was never really, none of those really identified the actual funding agreement. And so I thought that was wise. And so I did ask Paul if he'd put this together for us today so that you could take it, because I do think that at this point, it probably makes sense for us to move quickly, because the time frame for getting invoices in for the first 50% of the funding is still November 15th. So this gives us a little more time to get everything ready and get the funding agreement in, and then actually put in for the submit our invoices, etc.
So if I may ask a question, so the 50% doesn't come now when you sign the funding agreement? Because that was my understanding that it would come now.
The 50%, well, 50% of the funding will come after they receive the funding agreement, but then we have to submit initial invoices by November 15th.
And does that then trigger the second portion?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. And my goal is, just so you know, my goal with the holidays coming up, with some of the uncertainties that have, the changes that have occurred as we've moved along with this programming, I'm really just trying to expedite the process.
Yeah, because we're really running out of time. This money has to be distributed and spent by the
December 30th.
And item 6A is not in here any longer, is it?
I don't see a 6A, so I'm not. Are you talking about our agenda?
No,
Or
6A, as in the resolution, there was a question about 6A.
Okay.
There was
So are we getting this document? I don't see it anywhere. Are we?
It's just on my, it's on the screen.
Okay.
So there is no 6A, right?
There isn't. There was some discussion that from other municipalities who, when they originally got this, that they had a concern that there was the ability of the county to at any point in time kind of request the money back. And there was nothing like that in here that I saw, or did you see anything like that, Paul?
Yeah, there it is. Return of improper unsubstantiated. The recipient shall immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what the part is that they were questioning. Shall immediately repay upon demand any amount of the award in its discretion. There's no time frame here, and that's what they were trying to get. That's what they were trying to get resolved. And I didn't log on to the meeting today, so I don't know if there was any discussion about that today. So I don't, Mr. Martin, I don't know how you feel about that.
Frankly, I'm not terribly concerned.
Okay.
I mean, first, it would require a misuse of the funds to begin with. And, I agree upon demand is rather strident language, and I missed it when I went through this earlier. But I just don't see it as a likelihood that we need to worry about. And the bottom line is that if for some reason there is an immediate demand and we can't comply with that immediacy, there's not a lot they can do about it. So ideally, do I agree with the other folks who are concerned about the possibility of facing that demand? Yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen in the first place. And in the second place, I think reasonable minds would allow for a more reasonable repayment period.
Madam Mayor, Paul Martin, if I could follow up with a question, because I did listen to the very, very first call. This would be if they called for an audit, isn't that right, Paul? And would that?
They would have to, at some point, have reached the determination that the funds allocated to the city were misspent in some way, shape, or form. I don't see how they would do that without an audit, frankly. Or some kind of fact-finding
I don't think so.
determination.
I think what the issue here is if the federal government comes to the county and says, you had no business giving that money to the municipalities. You shouldn't have given the money to the municipalities. We need it back.
I hear you and I agree, but again, it still goes down to the audit. Number one, I have total faith in our government and our finance and city manager and staff.
I don't think
it does go back to an audit, and with the federal government audit every city, and this really is Ruth conversation of just food for thought.
I think it's highly unlikely that the Treasury Department is going to come back and ask for money back. I don't think that's going to happen.
I agree.
But this is the county's protection that they want to build into this. In fact, if in fact the Treasury comes back and says, you erroneously distributed this money, you shouldn't have, but by the same token, they aren't going to give you the second part of the money unless you produce the documentation. So vis-a-vis, are they not really saying in their minds, it's all good?
Well,
But this is their protection if the feds come back.
And I think the other concern on 6A that did get clarified was, or in my opinion, kind of clarified my uncertainty of that language was, our police force, our fire force, the public safety. We were not sure whether public safety would be allowed to be used, and they clarified that. So I really, I really think that kind of helps us with this kind of funky language in 6A, but unfortunately, we do need to move on. December 30th is our deadline, in all truth and honesty for all funds. And I hear your point. And being the president of the municipal league, I know you're a little bit more, advanced in information on some things with the concerns here because you hear it from other municipalities.
Well, I know that Pat Kelly was trying to get the county to either clarify this information or amend it or remove it. And obviously that has not happened. So if Paul is comfortable with us approving this, I'm comfortable. I am having an executive board meeting with the Municipal League on Thursday morning. I'm hoping that we get a little more clarification. And if you're comfortable, then let's go.
I really am.
I just want to know, I want a copy of this. I think the city manager knows me by now. I don't have this on the link here. I would like a copy of this at the end of the day after it's passed.
Okay. Council, are there any other comments or questions?
I have none.
No.
Okay. I will entertain a motion.
Barb's gonna have to put it on the screen since this isn't in our
You
documentation.
see it, right?
Not
Yes,
yet.
we
I see you
but we
scroll-
don't see the resolution. It's simply to pass 2021-98.
There.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-198, a resolution approving a funding agreement with St. Louis County for COVID-19 municipal relief and authorizing and directing the city manager to execute same.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any final comments? Questions? Hearing none, please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Member Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you. Okay, we are at item number 14. We're at the hearing from citizens portion again. If there's anyone in the audience that wishes to address the council, please raise your hand and Barb can unmute you and you can speak directly to the council again.
Mayor, there's a hand up, Barry.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Barb. I've got several issues here. The first thing that I'm a little concerned about is the council's desire to exit the session to discuss the proposition of selling 1125 without taking into account, and I raised this twice on the chat line and on the questions line, and nobody answered me either way. What about the impact of this decision to turn 1125 over to Mr. Cohen? What about the impact on us and our, at that point, our inability to seek other developers who might be more forthright? That's my first issue. My second issue is in the resolution that you're going to be considering and voting on, or tabling, or whatever you decide to do. Clause number 2 says closing. Buyer would like to close on the property on blank without having acquired the neighboring properties or securing the approval of the city for the proposed redevelopment. That was a safeguard that was built into the original sale contract that you had with Mr. Cohen, that he had to acquire the other 7 properties before you would sell him 1125. You have now, as a council, effectively removed that safeguard and are giving him free rein to buy the property. Now, I understand you've introduced a new contingency where if he doesn't then acquire the properties within what you're saying is 24 months, which means it ties it up for 2 years that he gets to sit on it while we could have had another developer on the scene. That's my second concern. Thirdly, I'm concerned about the closing date for us. Of course, that's for us to negotiate with Mr. Cohen, so I won't waste your time with that. Because he tried to squeeze us into a 3-month closing time on his renewed contract. He gave us only 3 months to close on, and most of us were not happy with that, if I remember right. I don't understand why Olivet would not seek other developers through an RFP. By the way, what does RFP stand for?
Request for proposals.
Okay. I mean, it's in Olivet's best interest. I mean, let's put our cards on the table here. Not only us homeowners, but you guys as the city council want to see that tract developed. It's a bunch of wood frame houses that are 5,000 years old. You want to see it turned into something that's going to beautify the community, that's going to bring in revenue. Why, excuse my language, but why in the hell would you not want to seek other developers? I mean, you guys are the ones that hosted Pace Construction when they were acting as the middleman for Payne families back in 2017. That was okay. And we were excited about that. We were on board with that. And if they hadn't tried to lowball us, we would have done business with them. They came back in 2018 with a counteroffer that was still too low. So, it seems to me that it's in Olivet's best interest to find a suitable developer. I was thinking, why not approach the developer that's building the high dollar apartment complex in your old stomping grounds, that's where they've raised the former municipality ground and they're building an apartment complex. Why not approach them? Maybe they're interested. Next, Mr. Carl raised the question of Mr. Law. Well, have you all sought other developers? And my question is that relevant? Is that verboten? I mean, are we able to seek other developers? It seemed to me like that was a sticky wicket that I would like to have clarified, because I think we should be free, especially if we're not under contract, which I don't think any of us are at this point, although the current one expires in November, I believe. We should be free to seek other developers. I need to get clarification on, is that taboo? Are we allowed to? I didn't understand that line of questioning, and I need that clarified. I also want to be very clear about this, and I think that most of the homeowners agree with me. I have no problem whatsoever selling to Mr. Cohen, as long as he plays ball with us. You know, we have all 7 homeowners in alignment, ready to sell their property. All we want is a fair shake. We want to be paid fairly. He went down on his offers from the original contract. That's not going to fly. Listen, it's like I told Mr. Corley and Mr. Law today. I don't have to like the man to do business with him. I'll gladly accept his money. I have no problem with doing business with Mr. Cohen, as long as he doesn't treat us like a bunch of idiots and doesn't insult us by lowballing us and pulling all this shady crap. Again, pardon my language. But I have no problem doing business with him, because if we have to wait for another developer, that's going to be another year or two. And what you also need to understand on the council is that there are several moving parts to this thing. Number one, the Corleys are insistent on relocating to Olivet because their daughter is still in the Ladue school district, and they want her to remain there. All her friends are there, and they don't want her to have to uproot. So they want to relocate in Olivet. Okay, great, no problem. They have been looking high and low for suitable properties. They have found nothing even in the price range that Mr. Cohen offered them. So we have to satisfy them in their search for a suitable property. And it's not just for living purposes, but also he runs a business out of his home. He's got big trucks. He needs enough garage space. You know, they need a suitable new home. And to be quite blunt about it, he's made it clear to me that if they can't get, if they don't get the figure that they require to make their move, then he's going to build his room addition and hunker down and stay in that house for the rest of their lives. So that's one huge moving part. The Joneses, they own 1115, Karen and Brian Jones. They have the biggest parcel. It's a little over half an acre, 0.57. They just had their property appraised at what Karen told me in an email was $342,000. So they have their ideas on what they need to get paid. So we need to satisfy them. Tamara Faden in 1145, she has her ideas on what she needs in order to move. She's an elderly woman. She's like, I believe in her 80s or close to it. She's elderly and she needs a suitable new home to move into, and she's going to need help doing it. So there's a lot of moving parts to this thing, folks. And I don't know about you guys, but I have always lived my life by the golden rule. I believe in treating other people the way that I want to be treated. So to me, this isn't just a business proposition. And I know, it's to you all, it's just business. And to Mr. Cohen, it sure as hell is all about the money. But, we all need to be treated fairly and equitably. And I'm sorry for going on so long, but we got a lot of factors involved in this thing, and everybody could come out of this thing smelling like a rose, or it could go south. And I think it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know which way is better. Thank you. So I do need my question answered about are we allowed to seek other developers, and why would not Olivet do that as well and actually spearhead the thing? I mean, it's in Olivet's best interest. It's going to beautify and enrich the tax base for the community. So, I mean, no brainer. So I need those answers. Thank you.
With regard to, Mayor, I don't know if you want me to go ahead, but I would say that with regard to I think I just want to clarify that I did state earlier that the city is not doing an RFP on the properties because we're not interested in doing an economic development tool for, at this point, for any housing. And so that's one of the issues and the reasons why the council has not done a request for proposals, because we're not really looking for developers in that area. If something comes, then that's fine. But that's the reason why. With regard to Mr. Carl's question, I think he was just, his question was just a clarification of the mayor's question. When the mayor asked if you'd been, if you had sought a developer, and I think Mr. Carl was just kind of clarifying that question. I'm not sure that he had necessarily any, I don't know if that was his question or not. So with that, Mayor, I don't see any other hands up.
Okay, I apologize. I had a malfunction on my computer.
That's okay. I did notice that Mr. Carl has gone off.
Yeah. Madam Mayor, Paul Martin, I heard a couple contradictory statements by this gentleman. Claiming Mr. Cohen lowballed, and then even said Payne lowballed the owner. So lowballing is a concern no matter who the developer is for those folks. But I thought I heard him say, we're not under contract. And then he said, our contract ends in November. Do we know when their contract ends?
I'm not, and again, because these are not contracts that the city has any influence in, we've not requested any of that information.
Yeah, I think what we have to remember is we need to all stay in our lane. That's the most important part of this conversation, is for us to stay in our lane. And more importantly, let's, again, Mr. Martin, if you could one more time, for the sake of the audience, just explain why it is possible that the council is permitted under the law to go into closed session before we finish out this meeting. I would appreciate it, because I don't want people to think we're doing something that we're not allowed to do. We are absolutely permitted by law to do what we're going to do.
Right. The Sunshine Law is what we're talking about. The Sunshine Law requires public meetings to be open to the public unless there's an exception which allows them to close that meeting. In this particular instance, there are two exceptions. One is attorney-client communications, which is geared toward making sure that the council members can have a frank and honest conversation with their lawyer about whatever it is that might be on their minds that might pertain to this particular issue. And the second exception is for the purchase, sale, or lease of real estate in which the city has an interest, which clearly this is one of those, this meets that exception as well. So the council has every opportunity, every legal right to go ahead and go into closed session to discuss this further. Mayor, I would also note that the gentleman seemed to be asking for a legal opinion on what he can do with his property. And as Ms. Sondag noted, we're not aware of what the status of those contracts are, or if in fact there is a contract, because of the allegation that Mr. Cohen didn't comply with them. So we don't even have that basic information. So we're not in any position whatsoever to give any kind of legal guidance. And even if we were, I have to remind everybody that the city attorney is the attorney for the city council and not for all the members of the public. I can't tell these folks how to do or how to live their lives, or whether or not they should put their property on the market, or whether the amount that they're being offered is too high or too low. You know, unfortunately, that's just the way things are. So I'm sorry to go on with this, but I wanted to make that clear. I know it's frustrating for citizens sometimes when they're in a situation that they don't understand and can't seem to get their head around. But unfortunately, we can't help him. We can't help them in that particular instance.
Did we finish hearing from citizens while I was away? Okay, great. So we're going to move on to item number 15. Did we do that too?
We haven't
Okay.
done that, no.
Okay, Denise,
Item 15, review and approval of minutes.
did anybody see anything that needed to be corrected? All right, seeing that there were no corrections, yeah, I will entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that the minutes from our last meeting are accepted.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any last comments, questions? Please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Clark,
You're muted.
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
Next item,
The next item is the city attorney's report.
Mr. Martin.
I would like to report that someone will get those resolutions fixed. I apologize for that error. They seem to be rampant in the resolutions that we have on for consideration this evening. I have nothing to report at this time. I would ask for the closed session that we've discussed for attorney-client communications and discussion of the sale of city real estate pursuant to section 610.021.1 and 2 of the revised Missouri statutes. I am not aware if we have anything else to discuss in closed session. And the city manager is saying that she has nothing. So unless anybody has any questions, that would be it for me.
So moved.
Council, if we just one moment, Darren has started a different meeting and has sent you an invitation. So I'm going to ask you folks to get off of this meeting. I will keep this meeting active.
Okay.
And I will join you with my phone from another room.
Do we hit leave?
But if you could make the motion first and then leave, and then look for the email from Darren, for the invitation from Darren.
Okay. Do I have, is there been,
It was,
The stipulations of Mr. Martin.
okay,
That's our closed session requirements.
610.021.1, 2.
And two,
You
yeah.
need a second? Or do we already do it?
I'll do it correctly. Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we move into closed session pursuant to state statutes 6021.1 and 2.
Second.
it has been moved and seconded. It's 610.021.1 and 2. It's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Please poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
All right, so to the attendees, the council is going to leave this room, and you may stay if you wish. And when we return, which we hope will be in 20 minutes, but it could be a little longer, but when we return, then we will either be taking a vote or telling you that we're not taking a vote. We will inform you of what's going to happen at that point in time, and you are welcome to stay until we return. All right, council, you should have that email from Darren. Okay,
Whole conversation with myself and Ruth.
sorry.
I was on mute.
Are you ready? Okay. The city council has returned from executive session, and I am going to ask the city clerk to please go back and read item number 12.
Resolution 2020-196, a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a supplemental real estate sales agreement with Douglas Properties for the property located at 1125 Dealman.
Mr. Martin?
Mayor, I would suggest that the motion should be to approve Resolution 2020-196 with a closing date with the developer by December 15, 2020, and inserting a 2-year limit, 24-month limit for closing on the neighboring properties as a condition of the supplemental agreement.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
The resolution has been moved and seconded. Are there any final comments or questions by the council? All right, before we vote, I would just like to sum up that the council is taking the action that they're going to take tonight. We are voting on our particular property as property owners, that the council can neither advise nor offer any advice whatsoever to the adjacent property owners as to what you should or shouldn't do. It is your property, and we cannot give you the legal advice as far as what you should or shouldn't do. And perhaps, we hope that you'll understand that we're acting on behalf of the city to execute an agreement on behalf of the city and the city's property that it owns. So having said that, if there are no further comments or questions, I will ask the clerk to poll the council.
Councilmember Weil,
Yes.
Councilmember Carl,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldman,
Yes.
Chairman Clark,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
motion passed.
All right. I think we have covered all the topics on the agenda. I appreciate everyone hanging in there until we came back from closed session. If there are no further comments or questions, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. The council meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Good night,
Thank you for
everybody.
attending. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you, Paul. Good night, everybody.
Ruth, Barb,
Yes,
Barb and Ruth, do you see that there is a question?
yes,
Okay.
yes. There is, yeah, we didn't, yeah.
No, I just wanted to make sure that you saw
I did
since
see it.
once we go off, we're off. Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Good night.